Hello, I'm constitutional attorney Katherine Henry. Welcome to this week's Constitution segment recap. So, last week we were unable to go live to you with a Constitution segment recap because of Hurricane Ian pummeling my house and my neighborhood in Volusia County, Florida. But I think it worked out for the best in terms of how we structure the Constitution segment recaps, because it then led us into this week doing another full episode on the proposal that's making its way to the Michigan general election ballot, the Reproductive Freedom for All ballot language. And we were able to have that discussion in another full episode, this time having our guest, Ryan Kelly from Michigan, to talk about some of the concerns with this petition. And so today is essentially a Constitution segment recap 2-for-1. I'm going to briefly recap for you what was discussed in week 39's show, as well as this week, week 40 show. So the like I said, we were talking about the not the restore freedom, the reproductive freedom. The restore freedom petition is the one that I drafted 2 years ago in the state of Michigan to amend the Michigan Constitution in a good way. This is the reproductive freedom petition, where in week 39, we talked about what does the petition really say, and does it violate the U.S. Constitution? We went into some specifics about what does it say, what does it mean for women, children, men, families, society, how does it fit into the current Michigan Constitution, and how does it work with the U.S. Constitution? And would it be enforceable if it is actually passing in November next month? And so those are the things that we talked about in last week's full episode on Tuesday. We went over, of course, some quotes or some statements, some thoughts being thrown out there by the ACLU of Michigan in support of this petition, as well as on the petition's, the ballot committee's own website, and their statements about it being a common sense middle ground solution to restore our rights under Roe, as they call it. And that's not at all the truth. So that's why we did last week's episode. That's why we continued this important discussion with this week's full episode. So this week we turned it into more of a live Q&A. And like I said, brought in our special guest, Ryan Kelly, to discuss what his ballot question committee is doing to oppose this. And we essentially picked up the conversation, recognizing, yeah, okay, the reproductive freedom ballot proposal that we discussed last week is blatantly unconstitutional, but it also allows abortion on demand of babies unborn and born. It prohibits any kind of licensing or regulation of facilities or individuals that are providing abortions, sterilizations, sex changes, infertility care. It prohibits us from protecting our children from having any kind of sterilization or sex change operation, contraceptives, abortions, sex with pedophiles. It allows parents to literally neglect, or more specifically, abandon their children. Literally walk away and say, I've decided I'm not going to be a parent, and not have any kind of prosecution for doing so whatsoever. And no, there's no time limit put on this. So a parent could walk away and decide, when the child is 4 months old or 4 years old or 14 years old, well, I decided I don't want to be a parent. But on top of all of that, it's going to require society to pay for everything, the fallout, but even these procedures. So we asked under Proposal 3, and this is our Tuesday true or false question. We asked under Proposal 3, which is the proposal to amend the Michigan State Constitution in November 2022. Viable unborn babies and born babies can be so-called aborted at will. True or false? Well, like I said, we need to understand first that this petition, it actually doesn't say much. It's 320 words, and when you clean up the terrible amount of errors, I've never seen something so horribly put together ever. It's 2,208 characters, but like I said, 321 words. And the official summary of this breaks it down into certain ways. But I want you to realize that in terms of what would be in the Constitution, that official summary basically loses all its meaning. It's gone. The summary itself does not make it into the Constitution. So that has no bearing on what actually ends up in the Constitution. It's literally just the summary that's meant to remind you of what will be in the petition if you vote on it. But that's the language that you'll see on your ballot in November if you're voting in Michigan. And technically, this amendment it only adds words to the Constitution. It adds an entire section. It would be section 28 of Article 1 of the Michigan State Constitution. It does not remove any current text. It does not change any wording of the current Michigan Constitution. And the section has 5 subsections or 5 parts to it. We read it in full in the in episode 40's full show from Tuesday. And in episode 39 from last week on Tuesday, we also pointed out the specifics where this petition, the petition itself, claims to modify 16 parts or provisions of the current Michigan State Constitution, but it does not say how it would be modifying those. And it's not, just to be clear, it's not modifying the actual language. It's just impacting how those parts are going to be put into place. So make sure to check episode 39 for the full discussion on that. And to hear the full impacts of how this petition, how this amendment would impact women, children, men, families, our society, how it fully fits into or doesn't fit into the Michigan State Constitution and the U.S. Constitution, how it is not actually enforceable, but yet one of those things like EOs that they're going to try to push and say that, yes, it's enforceable. So make sure to check that out, but also to make sure to check out the document, the PDF that is in the description of this Constitution segment recap that gives you the specifics of what other parts of the Constitution are going to be impacted by this. And again, remember, this allows abortion on demand of babies unborn and born, prohibits licensing or regulation of any of these care providers, prohibits us from protecting our children, allows parents to abandon their children, and requires the state to pay for it all. So please check out the full episodes from both weeks. Again, I'm constitutional attorney Katherine Henry, and thank you for watching this Constitution segment.